Hello everybody, welcome to F1 Grandstand. I'm Tony Craig, and if you're an F1 fan, you are in the right place. Hit the subscribe button, join the community and get involved. So, welcome. Belgian Grand Prix 2025. Watch along. What a day we had in Spa yesterday. You know, we had one of Hamilton's worst days in F1, P18 on the grid, but then we see Leclerc put his Ferrari on P3. Oh, the drama at the Ferrari garage. Wow. You can imagine the conversations, right? New team bosses having an immediate impact. Laurent Mekies and Yuki Tsunoda working well together. Yuki managing to qualify P7. But it's a wet race. Anything can happen. Thank you for joining me here for this watch along where we can share the action together. Okay. On the formation lap. I'm all comfy with my cup of tea. I hope you are too. But yeah, did you enjoy the sprint race yesterday? Did you expect Max to win that? I didn't, actually. I thought Oscar was nailed on to win that with his performance. But yeah, Max taking first position, all the points. The interesting thing actually about the McLarens yesterday is that we saw Lando out-qualify Oscar. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest, when I saw just how Oscar had been performing for the sprint qualification and the sprint race. So yeah, it was a real surprise for me to see Lando take P1 in qualifying. But it's a wet race. And Spa's one of those tracks actually where as the weather changes so quickly, one part of the track can be really wet, whilst another part of the track can be really dry. So strategy, tyre strategy, pit stop strategy, safety car. We will see a safety car today, one or two. So this race really, it's going to be fascinating. And what do you think about Charles Leclerc putting that Ferrari on P3? Well, Hamilton only managed P18 out in Q1. I don't know if you saw his lap where he was in breach of track the track width where he went over the line. Wow. He would have been P7, but still, he did apologise for that infraction. Okay, actually, the water is building up on that track. Yeah, so going to be starting the race. Oh, it's red flagged. Red flagged, okay. Tyre warmer's going on. See, this is the thing about Spa. The weather always plays such a major part in the result of this Grand Prix. I mean, we know Hamilton's right at the back of the grid at P18. But is there a better wet weather driver than Hamilton? Maybe Max. Maybe Max. Oh, it's shaping up to be a belter of a race. Bring on the rain. George Russell, actually, excellent in the wet. I haven't spoken about him much, actually. He managed P6, where Kimi Antonelli could only manage P19. So Kimi Antonelli not having the best day in qualifying yesterday. But someone who did have a great day in qualifying yesterday, I can talk about him, Yuki Tsunoda. What an improvement in form. So we see Laurent Mekies back in the top job at Red Bull. Horner out. That's a whole other story. But what we do know is Yuki and Mekies have got a very good working relationship. We do know they worked well together in the sister team. But we also know that Yuki was having a torrid time in that second Red Bull car for the last, well, really all season. And he hasn't made Q3 in the last 6 races. Okay, so Horner leaves, Mekies comes in. We see a floor upgrade for the Red Bull, except in sprint qualifying and in the sprint race, Max's car was the only car to have the upgrade. Yuki told everybody about this in his interview after sprint qualifying. And Laurent Mekies had the engineers work, I'm guessing overnight, putting in that new floor on Yuki's car, ready for qualifying. And then we see Yuki putting that Red Bull on P7. And honestly, I did a show earlier this week saying Yuki is going to lose his drive. He's lost his drive because there was a leaked document which came out of Red Bull saying that the Red Bull driver lineup next year, if Max stays, was going to be Max, car 1, Hadjar in the second Red Bull. Lawson would keep his seat in the Racing Bulls, and Lindblad would take the number 2 seat in the Racing Bulls team. So what happens to Yuki? Like, Yuki is out. I did a whole video on it. Yuki is out, season done. And that still might be the case. But the important thing for Yuki is this is his shop window. He has got the next 12 races, including this one, to put himself in the shop window for other teams, or by some magical event, Yuki retains his seat in the Red Bull. But that, I can tell you right now, that was not the plan earlier this week. So there's a lot that can happen in the Red Bull team between now and 2026. There's still the conversation where if Max thinks Mercedes will provide him a championship winning car, that the 100 million he would have to pay to get out of his contract will get sorted. Either Max or Mercedes could pay it. So let's play a game with me here. Let's be hypothetical. Let's say the Red Bull isn't competitive enough for Max, because I don't think Max cares about money. I think, like most winning racing drivers, they would drive for free in the very best car because they want to win. So let's say the Red Bull doesn't hit the competitive pace that Max wants and he moves to Mercedes. Okay, bear with me. George Russell's contract has not been agreed for 2026. Kimi Antonelli, well, after his performance yesterday, has not been great. But so where did the threesome, if that is a threesome at Mercedes, how does that work out? Does Max race with George in a Mercedes? Should George be, effectively, he would be number 2 driver He would. And George, in my opinion, is too good to be a number 2 driver anywhere. George has been getting the maximum out of that Mercedes car. So, but bear with me. They've not confirmed George for next year or sorted his contract out. If Max goes to Mercedes, I think the most likely situation is, because remember, Toto Wolff manages Kimi Antonelli. I think what would happen is Max would come to Mercedes, they'd sort out the 100 mil compensation payment to Red Bull, they retain Kimi Antonelli, but where would George go? Which is where it gets really interesting, because I can't see George going to Cadillac. The only place I think a driver as good as George could go would be for a direct swap over at Red Bull. And literally join the Red Bull team with their 2026 car. I actually think there is this, look, I'm not saying it's nailed on. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen. But I am saying that should that chain of events happen, we could potentially, it's a long shot, see an almost a straight swap for George and Max. Because if I was George Russell and I'm sat there performing really well in my Mercedes, really getting the maximum out of that car and having a loose commitment for 2026, a loose commitment from Toto Wolff saying, yeah, I believe these, sorry for my impression, yes, I believe these will be our drivers in 2026, but it's Formula One. Okay, terrible accent. But you know what I'm saying? He's saying they'll sort it out. But if he wouldn't say that if it was Max. He'd be like, Max, sign this paper, give me 5 years. Do not pass go. Do not leave this room. Sign this paper right now. Sign this contract. He's not doing that with George. And that's because he thinks there's an outside chance that Max could end up in a Mercedes seat in 2026. That's why. And if I'm George, I'm not daft. I'm thinking, all right, Toto, thank you for telling me that you know your intention is we're going to be fine. Where's my fucking money? Where's my contract? I'll be thinking, why is it not done? There's only one reason why that's not been firmed up, and it's because there's an outside chance that they're going to get Max. That's who he wants. So if I'm George, I'm thinking, I'm too good to be a second driver for anybody. I can be, you have to believe, if you're on that grid, you have to believe you're the best guy. You have to believe you're the best driver. You have to believe you can win the championship. So what message are you telling yourself and everybody else if you're prepared to go, okay, yeah, I'll wait for you to do whatever you do with Max and hope I get that second seat. So yeah, that's my take on the George Russell situation. But what's your take? Hi Gemma, nice to see you in the chat window. Yeah, show me the money. Exactly, show me the money. Yeah, if I'm George, that's what I'll be saying. Like, where's my contract? Let's get this sorted out. But yeah, that's my take on the George Russell situation. Flip it, Max stays at Red Bull. The one sort of talking point at Red Bull is Hadjar right now looks nailed on for the second Red Bull seat. He's performing very well, but he's still got another 12 races to go. Should there be a drop in form with Hadjar, we could see Lindblad going straight into that Red Bull number 2 seat. We could. I mean, we actually could. It depends. I would have said that would have been more a move that Horner would make, because Horner, more aggressive than Mekis. He would gamble. We've seen that. He would gamble. Whether Laurent Mekis would gamble on giving Lindblad his rookie season in a Red Bull, I don't know. But I do think those are the cards that they have on the table. But if they lose Max, they need to look for a number 1 driver. And in that stable right now, Yuki, no. Lawson, no. Lindblad, no. Hadjar, no, not yet. None of those guys can lead the team at Red Bull. George Russell could. He could lead that team. Hamilton might need a new team, the way he's going. Maybe his relationship will sour with Ferrari if we look at what happened yesterday and how he's talking publicly. Because the Hamilton story is brilliant. Because if we look at it, they do 200 Ks of filming day, not testing, filming day with their new rear suspension at Mugello. They split the driving miles between Leclerc and Hamilton. After that filming day, not a test, the team said the new rear suspension should be worth at least a tenth a lap. They will be able to run the car at the correct ride height because they've had ride height issues because they got disqualified in China because of the ride height problem. So it's meant that the car's been running at a slightly higher ride height than it was designed. This rear suspension is supposed to sort all that out. They only ran the car on that filming day on demo tyres. Cut to Belgian Grand Prix, sprint qualifying. Even before that, actually, before we get to sprint qualifying, cut to the journalist in the press conference talking to Hamilton about, so we know you've had these new upgrades on your testing day. Hamilton said, it's not a testing day, it's a filming day. There's no improvement to the car. Publicly said, no improvement to the car. He was basically telling everybody this car handles like a bag of spanners, even with the new rear suspension. Then we hit sprint qualifying. We hit FP1. Hamilton's terrible. The car's not quick. Leclerc is quicker. Then we hit SQ1. Hamilton out in SQ1. He spins the car, where Leclerc ends up in P4 in the sprint race, where Lewis Hamilton ends up in P16. P16. Then we have qualifying, where Hamilton is out again in Q1, in P18, because he exceeded the track limits with his P7 run, lost that time. And this is all the time where he has been sending the consistent message. The consistent message, this car is no better. These upgrades are no better. This rear suspension has done nothing. Well, Leclerc has quietly been saying, I see an improvement in the car. So we have this completely contrasting information from both drivers about the upgrade. Here's where that gets interesting. Hamilton qualifies P18 for the race, and Leclerc, who says there's been an improvement, puts the Ferrari on P3. So we've got two drivers with the same equipment with two very different experiences. Well, what does that mean for Hamilton? Because right now, everything points to Hamilton being the issue, maybe. His engineer had a very frosty exchange with Hamilton yesterday. Hamilton said, "Oh, is everything okay?" To which the engineer frostily said, "No," basically. You exceeded track limits. No fluff, no bedside manner. You exceeded track limits. What he's saying there is, and quite rightly, this is your fault, Lewis, that we are in P18. And you've been talking crap about us all week, about our development of the rear suspension and about how the car's no good. So you can see this frosty atmosphere over at Ferrari. And the rumour is, my man on the ground, Tubby George, told me that immediately after the sprint race and sprint qualifying, Hamilton got his laptop, wrote a very long document of outlining all the things that are wrong with that Ferrari, outlining all the problems with the car, and the rear suspension has been no improvement, literally going in on the entire engineering team. Next day, Leclerc in the same car, same rear suspension, puts it on P3, and Hamilton puts it on P18. So if you're the engineering team and you see one of your drivers putting your kit, your car, your engineering on P3, and your other driver, even though he's a 7-time world champion, putting that car P18, you are gonna be furious. The frostiness in that garage today. So the bigger question is, what's the outcome of all of this? Does this conflict in the Ferrari team help them create a better car, a championship winning car, or do Ferrari get really peed off with Hamilton and they're thinking, what have we bought here? We've lost Carlos Sainz, who was a dream to work with by all accounts, and a very quick driver, for this. Even though he's a 7-time world champion. Oh, he's done it in newie cars. And if you're in a newie car, you know, you've probably got a good chance of winning. I think there's only, like, if you look at Michael Schumacher when he won his 7 world championships, he was racing against newie cars. He was also racing against some of the, well, probably the best crop of Formula One drivers to have ever lived. Senna, Prost, Mansell. It was a different time. So back to Lewis, who's been in the Mercedes family for 30 years, and he's only just got out of that family. How much of Lewis's success was due because of that family he was working with? Where you could argue someone like Schumacher or Niki Lauda or Alain Prost, in their day, a large part of the success was because of the driver. Maybe, I'm throwing it out there, maybe a large part of Lewis's success, and he didn't even realise just how lucky he was to have the team around him at Mercedes that he had. It's like that girlfriend you have, right? You only have a girlfriend where you're with her for a long time, and then when you're young, you think, oh, I can get to something, there might be something better out there. There might be that better girl, you know, she might have a, you know, a slightly different chassis that you want, you know, she might be, I don't know, more popular, might be richer, whatever it is. And this girl that's been with you for, it's been loyal, good, maybe she's put on a little bit of weight or something and it's put you on, I don't know what it is, and you've binned her after 5 or 6 years, and then you've gone for this hot new model. You know, she looks like Megan Fox or whatever your thing is, absolutely perfect looking, but you don't know her that well yet, do you? But you're going, oh my God, look at her, this shiny new girl, amazing. And aren't I great having this girl? 4 weeks in, you go, oh shit, what have I done? What have I done? And at this point, you're calling Betty that you're thrown away, and she's going, no, I found a guy who appreciates me. You stick with Megan. I'm done with you. You threw me away after 6 great years. You go off with your Megan. And now you're stuck with this amazing looking thing that hasn't got any depth, maybe she's a bit thick. You know, there'll be other problems that you only find out. And that's what we're talking about here. Lewis, in his 30-year marriage, didn't realise how lucky he was, and he's gone for this new hot thing, a little bit prettier, a little bit sexier, and now he's realising, shit, it was a bad decision. He could be going through all of that right now. Gemma in the chat, I'm going to read this out. Taylor Swift would say, it's him, he's the problem, it's him, not the car. Thank you for bringing Taylor Swift into this chat. Love it. But that's what we're saying, right? That's literally what's happened with Lewis and Ferrari. Obviously, the 2026 car might be better, but we don't know yet. We don't know how much impact Lewis can have on that car, because he is searching for his 8th World Championship to make him undisputed the one driver that's won more World Championships than anyone in history. And he wants to do it in a Ferrari. which would be nice to see. Like, you know, I like Ferrari. I'd love to see Ferrari win another world championship. You know, I'd like to see Lewis do it, but at the moment he's not even beating his teammate. So if he can't beat his teammate, he's never, you know, I say this all the time. If you can't, your main competitor as a driver is you have to beat your teammate. You can't win a world championship without beating your teammate. So if you're not beating your teammate, well then you're always the driver under fire. You're always the driver who is being considered to be replaced. It's true. Did you ever think it would be Lewis in that position? Oh, another comment from another comment in the chat. Someone calling Lewis a Karen. Maybe a little bit. Maybe he is. Thanks. Thanks, Gemma. Maybe he is being a bit of a Karen. I don't know. But it is there is I don't want to just like bash Lewis, you know, for the whole day, because there are positives. There are people who have said, working with Lewis and his vocabulary about how the feedback he can give the engineers, he's one of the best at that on the grid. And you could expect as it probably maybe him, Fernando Alonso, you know, all the older drivers of the grid, the more experienced ones, you'd expect that they were great at that. But apparently with Lewis, he gets up to speed with the car and the track almost instantly. So from FP1, he is trying to find the limits of the car, whereas some drivers are still trying to learn the track. That's not Lewis. But obviously the delay to start this race. Thing about Spa is the weather plays such an interesting part on the result. It's one of the only tracks in the F1 calendar that you can have a really wet part of the track, and then 7K is long, this track, and then at the other side it can be bone dry. So tyre choice, pit stop strategy and safety cars have such a major impact on the result of the race, which means you could see drivers like George Russell in the Mercedes who are starting in P6, maybe even Yuki Tsunoda in P7. You could see anybody on the grid. Look what happened in Silverstone. Great example. Nico Hülkenberg, P19 on the grid. His first podium. 14 years in the sport. 14 years. 239 Grand Prix, I think. And he gets his first podium on the 239th. Incredible. And he started P19. Ends up P3. That's the type of story that could happen today. You know, we even saw Lance Stroll in P3 for a while because of just the way that race was shaking out. Which will bring me on to Aston Martin, actually. I do have something to say about Aston Martin. So, Aston Martin brought a major component upgrade to Spa. They said it's their last major upgrade for this car. After this, they're going to be focused on the 2026 car, which is normal at this point in the season. That's what most teams will do. They said major component upgrade. They were expecting a huge jump in performance. Okay, so has that happened? No. We have got Lance and Fernando down at the back of the grid. The car looks worse than it did in Silverstone. So, unless they've done something quite magical overnight to try and get some race pace out of the Aston Martin, I think we're going to see them struggling. And as that is the last major upgrade for the Aston, I don't know how that's going to play out for them for the rest of the season, because that midfield battle is tight. Every point counts. However, Aston have got that exclusive deal with Honda for their power plant for the 2026 season. It's a shrewd move, that, because I did a show on this earlier this week about Formula One being the pinnacle of motorsport, which it is, the jewel in the motorsport crown. Yet in 2026, Mercedes will be supplying 3 teams on the grid with their power plant, and Ferrari will be doing the same thing. So do we think that the pinnacle of motorsport, there should be a rule where every team should have a unique power plant, whether it's a power plant they're developing themselves or an exclusive deal with a manufacturer like Honda? Because you look at what Red Bull had done. They partnered with Ford, and it's not Ford building them the engine or the power plant. It's Red Bull and Ford building it together. So the only cars running that power plant are the Red Bull team and the Racing Bulls. Do we think we're at a point with the pinnacle of motorsport that every team should have a unique power plant? I think that I would prefer it, for the integrity of the sport, that we didn't see manufacturers providing other teams with their power plant. I understand the cost of developing engines, especially hybrid, is expensive. I get it. So here's the alternative. No team develops their own power plant. Each team provides, say, 50 to 100 million, which goes into the one power plant provider for every team. Again, protecting the integrity of the sport. Every team gets the same unit. They can design everything else around that. So it's either everybody gets the same power plant, or every team has a unique power plant. I'm just not convinced that at the pinnacle of motorsport, every team or teams should be able to provide other teams with their power plants, with their engines. I don't think it's good for the sport. But that's just me. What do you think? Oh, nice cup of tea. Oh, I don't know how long this delay is going to be. Half the drivers are all just look like they're helmets off, relaxing, having a cup of tea. Got the feet in some foot warmers. Hey, that's a good product, isn't it? You can have foot warmers that are like tyre warmers, like slippers, heated slippers. When you sat waiting, just pop your feet in, warm your feet. I'm gonna listen. That's an F1 Grandstand exclusive. Don't be stealing that idea. If you do, send us some commission. Formula One designed foot warmers. Could be the future while we're sat watching the Grand Prix, while we're waiting for it to start. Yeah, I mean, what do you think of the rookies this season? Ollie Behrman's been pretty impressive. He's on the telly right now. You see, the weather is the key here. When I checked the weather forecast for the race yesterday, it did say rain. It said light rain, actually. Yeah, but it's so unpredictable. It's so unpredictable. I'm sure you watch what I'm watching. The Red Bull team there, all gathering around their coffee. I could do one. I need an assistant. I need someone to come and bring me hot coffees whilst we're enjoying this. Look at, I'm jealous. Spa weather chaos. It's true. It actually is true. If anyone know, does anyone know how long this delay is going to be? Tell me in the chat. When you see Alonso out there sat with the crew, helmet off, it looks super chilled. How do you stay in the zone? I wonder that. You know, if you're a driver, you just got yourself all psyched up, you're ready for the Grand Prix, you're taking your place on the grid, you're in your formation, like you're on your formation lap, and they say, and they bring you back in, helmet off, tyre warmers on the car, and then you're just waiting. People start chatting, people start relaxing. How do you keep your focus? Are you the sort of person that would just pop on some music, headphones, not talk to anybody? I think I would have a playlist. I'm pretty sure. You know, yeah, I would. And it'd probably be like a rock and roll playlist that would just keep me in that. You know, when you go driving at home, not driving at home, driving from home in your car, and you've got those certain songs that come on, and then you start driving like you're Michael Schumacher. I would. I'd have a playlist. Maybe the down always gets me going. That, you know, like something like that. I'd have the songs that go around me. I'm just like, yeah, I'm ready. Even if it's 25, 30-minute wait, the song will be going around. I'll be so pumped up by the time I get in the car. Whereas I can imagine all the drivers do different things. Max is probably on the PlayStation. Max probably wouldn't speak to anyone because I don't think he's that sociable anyway. He's probably in his room, waiting to get the knock. He's probably playing, I reckon he's probably playing an F1 game on his phone. Something like that. I think Valtteri Bottas, if he was on the grid and he was having to wait, I think he'd get out like a guitar or a banjo or something like that. It would just be tinkling away on his banjo, waiting for the race to restart. Hamilton, he's probably shouting at a Ferrari engineer right now. I think everyone does different things. I can see they're interviewing Pierre Gasly right now. Now, I don't know what you think. Who's with me on this? Pierre Gasly is one of the most underrated drivers on the grid. Does anybody agree with me? Because I actually think Pierre Gasly has improved and his maturity is really showing. I mean, he's the only driver to score points for Alpine this year. He's managed to get them 19 points. In the sprint qualifying, he put the Alpine to P8, which is a hell of a result for a car which honestly looks dreadful. I just think that it'd be interesting to see Gasly in a top team. I don't know where, you know, that'd be interesting actually. Let's say Max goes, maybe Pierre Gasly wouldn't be a bad choice at Red Bull if you wanted to bring in a number one driver. Maybe that elevation would be good for him. Maybe, I don't know, Gasly I think is due a good drive and a good team. He's solid, and I would be very keen to see what he can do in a very competitive car. But will Alpine be a competitive car next season? Because that's one of the teams that's running the Mercedes power plant. So will Gasly actually be in a competitive car next season? The stuff that's going on in the Alpine team, though, is pretty dire. So I'll give you a quick rundown whilst we start watching the rain. So Alpine are in financial trouble because Renault, their shares have gone down by 20%. Their engine program is no more. And they want to sell a 20% stake in the team for £300 million. So they value Alpine at 1.5 billion for the team. And this is for the team who are dead last. The interesting thing about that is that Christian Horner, our old mate, people think, what's he going to do next? What's he going to do next? Well, Bernie Ecclestone's been chatting away. They've been friends, by the way, for a long time, since all the way back in 2005 when Christian Horner actually got his job at Red Bull. What you might not know is Bernie Ecclestone was instrumental in Christian getting the team principal role at Red Bull. And Bernie Ecclestone's also worth in the B's. Not the M's, not the millions, the B's. So you've got Christian Horner, sacked from Red Bull, proven winner. His record speaks for itself. A team in disarray with no team principal, Alpine. They want to sell a 20% stake, and Christian Horner will only come back into the sport as a shareholder of the team. Christian Horner's probably due about 60 million from his payout from Red Bull, which isn't enough. It's not 300, is it? But then you got Bernie Ecclestone, more money than God. We could see Horner, as an owner, back in a team principal role at Alpine in 2026. And it's not just possible, it's actually quite likely. Again, my man Tubby George has said conversations about that are taking place right now. So where does that get interesting? So, okay, so we see Horner back on the grid, team principal and part owner of Alpine. He's already got a very good relationship with Flavio Briatore, by the way. Ecclestone's a great backer for him. But Alpine have got a deal with Mercedes for the power plants. I think it's until 2030. So this becomes interesting because Toto and Christian have got, it's one of the best soap opera relationships ever in Formula One. So I am pretty sure that Toto would mess with Christian if he takes control of Alpine, because that was one of Christian's biggest bugbears. Because you know Toto Wolff, he did a great bit of business with Mercedes Racing. He owns 30% of that race team. So if Alpine's worth 1.5 billion and they're the back of the grid, how much is Mercedes Racing worth? It's got to be minimum 3B, plus they've got the engine deals with Alpine and it'll come back to me, Williams. So when you think about this, Toto Wolff has got to be worth £1 billion. So you can understand why Christian Horner looks at these guys. And even Adrian Newey, by the way, who's gone over to Aston Martin, do you know what his deal is? I don't know the ins and outs exactly what his deal is, but I do know he is an equity partner. He has shares and ownership in the Aston Martin race team. So if you're Christian Horner and all the success he brings, he's a diversive character. Like he's a great protagonist, isn't he? You know, he's spiky. The way he operates is, he has an aggressive management style. But he wins. And this is sport. This isn't, these are sports teams. It's a different environment it's not an office environment. You know, your sole job is to win, is to maximize the car. If you're winning, everything else takes care of itself. If you're winning, sponsors come to you. If you're winning, drivers want to drive for you. If you're winning, the best engineers want to work with you, or you've already got the best engineers. If you concentrate on the winning, the rest of the business will take care of itself. If manufacturers, if you want to do an engine deal, they'll want to work with you because you are winning. When you're back of the grid, it's a much harder sell. It's a much harder sell to get. Like the fact that Aston Martin, a mid-team at best, right? But they get arguably the greatest Formula One car designer that's ever lived. How do you get that guy to your mid-team? With the caveat as well that yes, we're a mid-team, but you also got to build a car good enough for my son to win the World Championship in. Your car's got to be that good that even if my son, I'm being Lawrence Stroll right now, even if my son is not the world's best driver, you need to build a car that he can still win the World Championship in. Well, if you're Adrian Newey, yeah, give me shares in that team. Or I'm not coming. So yeah, 100% you can see that that's how it works. My God, 46 minutes. How long is this rain? Look at all the fans over there, though. I've got my foot on my desk. Kimi and Val. Look at Valtteri. He is, I'm sure you're watching the same pictures I'm watching. Kimi and Valtteri. Valtteri giving him some words of wisdom. I can imagine it goes something like this. Kimi, go fast. That's it. I'm guessing that's Valtteri. I love him. Have you seen his Instagram? Have you seen Valtteri's Instagram? Oh, it's the best thing on social media. Absolutely hilarious. Oh, you know what? They're interviewing Alan Permain. He seems a very nice chap. His debut as a team boss this weekend at Racing Bulls. I always wonder about the team boss role at Racing Bulls because Lauren Mekies was basically, yeah, he was team boss at Racing Bulls, but was he? Was he really team boss at Racing Bulls, or was Christian Horner team boss of Red Bull and Racing Bulls? You know, was Laurent Mekies really just like do as you're told, yes man? And is that the role at Racing Bulls? I mean, is Alan Permain literally they've slid him into that top job because, you know, he worked under Laurent Mekies, he's not going to cause any problem. Maybe that's the setup, you know. But I do think basically having two teams on the grid, you really could influence a race, couldn't you? So your top team, Max, final race of the season, it's him versus Piastri for all the points, for the championship, everything. And your sister team, you know, Racing Bulls, Lawson gets the call. Lawson let Max through, so he lets him through. Lawson, you come up to be lapped now by Oscar Piastri. We wouldn't mind if there was a racing incident here. Like, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure, again, that you should be able to have a sister racing team. I do think that does test the integrity of the sport. But what do you think? Should it be allowed? I know it's a great way to bring new drivers onto the grid, because you would not believe just how expensive it is I was reading something about Lando Norris's career trajectory. So his dad owns a stockbroking firm, a very successful stockbroking firm. So he makes plenty of money, called Hargreaves Lansdown. And it cost him to get Lando Norris onto the grid in F1. He thinks it cost him $44 million of his own money. And the one thing that was really interesting is when Lando went to McLaren, his dad had to pay to buy the seat, and it was $36 million for a 3-year contract. So when you think about how hard it is to become an F1 driver, there will be kids out there on simulators, in go-karts, that do not have the backing to become an F1 driver. There's no, I mean, if it's cost $40 million, I mean, how many people in this world could even become an F1 driver? But yeah, but there will be kids out there with all the talent in the world that just won't get a chance. They just won't get a chance. So everyone you see on that grid has had, even the paupers on that grid, if you want to call them that, are still have more resource, and they might, you know, than the average guy, a lot more. But yeah, interesting. 44 million. And to get Lando his 3-year contract would cost $36 million. That's insane. A lot of people commenting on the Christian Horner situation. I mean, there's a lot of two-faced people in this paddock, if I'm honest. Like, no one liked Horner because he's so spiky. He did win, but to you, the correct term for Christian Horner is that he was a dick. He was a bit of a dick, but he knew how to win. Would you like him over a beer? You know, if you're in with your mates, you'd probably say to your mate, "Who brought this dick?" But would you like him running your Formula One team? Probably. No. Because he was fit for purpose. He was fit for purpose doing his job. And his job is to win. And he brought, you know, and he's developed drivers. You know, he brought them through their Red Bull Academy. So he could spot talent. Yeah, we will see Horner back on the grid. Mark my words. And he'll be doing a big job. And he will be having a massive impact in Formula One in some way or another. Gemma's saying, is the race even going to go ahead today? Oh yeah, it'll happen. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember the 80s and 90s. And the safety elements to Formula One. And if you could even look back at the 70s, wow, those drivers driving into those conditions was insane. Great documentary actually on Sky. Jackie Stewart talking about those years and how he really pioneered safety in Formula One. And then, you know, we saw people like Niki Lauda doing the same thing, but the drivers changed the sport. On average, I think in the 70s, they'd lose 2 drivers a year. 2 drivers on that grid a year would die. I mean, God, it made the sport exciting, but that's crazy. Yeah, the sport has got a lot safer because really it's about the racing, right? It is about the racing. But yeah, back in the 70s and 80s, it was a completely different situation for the drivers. So the crowd are still celebrating. They're getting piss wet through, but they're celebrating. They've got Yuki in the grid. Well, I feel like this is a good time for me to go make a cup of tea, you know. Yeah, like I said earlier, Yuki, I'm very impressed. Had the weight of on his shoulders this week. A document was leaked from Red Bull saying that Yuki's definitely going to lose his drive. But what a performance yesterday to come back and put that car on P7. This really is his window. Well, taking the rigs down. Looks like they are preparing to come back to the track. Tyre warmer's still on, but the tents are coming down. Hallelujah, let's get this race on. I was just about to go make a cup of tea then as well. Okay, let's bring up the excitement again. We might get a start. The ponchos are out. So, you know, the guy who's selling ponchos over at Spa, what a great idea. He must have made a fortune because it always rains at Spa. Well, a lot of McLaren fans. You know, I think that F1 has obviously been, I've grown up with F1. But I do think we are seeing a golden age of Formula One, as in more viewers coming to the sport, more races in America. Just when you think the sport can't get any bigger, I think we are going to see F1 get even bigger. Even more exciting. I'd like to see more teams. I'm glad Cadillac's coming to the grid. I know Audi's taken over the Sauber team. So we've got one extra team, which means we'll have 22 drivers on the grid. I think there's room for at least one more team. I think 12 teams would be ideal. 24 drivers. Maybe we'll have an F1 Grandstand team. eventually. And we'll do a competition who can drive for us. People sat out in the woods. Okay. The optimism is out there. Looks like we may be back on track in the next 5 minutes. An hour after the scheduled start. I've seen worse conditions, to be fair. So will they come out on full wets? Now it gets into who's going to run full wets? Because people don't choose the full wets very often. It's like the full wets only work in a condition where the track is consistently super wet. Now, the reason why consistently super wet matters is because Spa, you can get super wet parts of the track and super dry parts of the track. So I think we'll see the Inters. But let's find out what the team's choice. What team's choice? What the teams choose. They're thrashing that Aston Martin DBX 707 around the track, aren't they? The medical car. Imagine if you're that guy. Having a ball, got the entire Spa circuit to yourself. And you got a crowd. Oh, he's pulling off. How do you get that job? The medical car driver. So, Aston Martin, Lawrence Stroll. Interesting story there is that Aston Martin, as the manufacturer, are removing themselves from the F1 team. But as you know, Lawrence Stroll is the owner of Aston Martin, but Aston Martin haven't had the greatest financial year. So Lawrence Stroll has injected another 50 million of his own money into the F1 team, and he is removing the financial liability for Aston Martin, the manufacturer. Yet, because he owns Aston Martin, he's keeping the Aston Martin name on the team. But then again, what's he going to do? Welcome to the Lawrence Stroll team, where my son Lance Stroll, but if you own Aston Martin, that's the brand you want on your Formula One car anyway. But the actual truth is, it's going to next season. It's Lawrence's own money. It's him with the financial liability, not Aston Martin, the manufacturer. So basically, it's Lawrence's own race team. And he bought it and built it because he wants his son to be Formula One world champion. I know everyone hates that. I know every fan on here who's watching this right now absolutely hates that Lawrence Stroll has got to drive. And you know, I've said this before. I had to do some soul searching, and I was like, if I was a billionaire and I had a son who was a driver, but he wasn't the best driver in the world, but I wanted him to be a world champion, for my son, would I build him a car that would be good enough to win the world championship even if he's driving it? And the answer is, as a billionaire and my own flesh and blood, the answer, after a lot of soul searching, is, yeah, I would. And I think most people would. It's easy to say we wouldn't, but I think a lot of people would. For their own flesh and blood. I think you would. I think you would for your son. Well, I think a lot of people would. Maybe not everybody. But I think a lot of people would. God, it's taking so long. My Sky nearly turned itself off. Jesus. Get in the car! Sorry, I've just seen Toto Wolff. Get in the car, Kimmy! I need to work on it, that impression, but I think I'm pretty close. Okay. Tent's coming down. Drivers are getting ready again. It will restart in just 12 minutes. Just enough time for the drivers to get a quick wee. Shot of Red Bull. Think the Red Bull drivers drink Red Bull? Do you think Max Verstappen is right now gunning one of the extra large cans of Red Bull to give him those wings? And if you are a driver for any other team and you like to drink Red Bull, do you have to secretly do it in the toilet or something so no one can see you holding a can of Red Bull? Because if you're driving for Ferrari, and I got a picture of Charles Leclerc just like necking a Red Bull, that picture, wow, that'd be worth a fortune, wouldn't it? They're a secret Red Bull drinker. Possibly. Obviously, I'm making some very entertaining television here, without any actual racing taking place. I'm sure you're enjoying an hour of me chatting bollocks. Just 10 minutes left until this race restarts. Well, not until this race starts, not even restarts. Then got a formation lap. Honestly, I thought we'd be halfway through now. I'm sure the driver's getting himself back in the zone now. I can imagine Lando's probably just listening to some tunes, getting himself back in the game. You know, George Russell, he's probably meditating. I can imagine he's doing like, I bet he's into yoga, Russell. Doing his, he'll be doing some yoga. That's my guess for Russell. Hamilton's probably just beating one of his engineers around the head, shouting at him, getting himself worked up. Sorry, Hamilton, I'm only messing. It's just only because of what happened yesterday. You know, Ollie Behrman's probably, you know, on Snapchat. There's a funny story about Ollie Behrman, actually. When he was on holiday, there was a go-karting track nearby, and he wanted to set the lap record on the go-karting track. Apparently it took him 3 days, but he did it. And then the previous guy saw that his record had been broken. He came back in and he's broken the record again. So maybe Ollie Behrman's going to go back after this race to go and, you know, try and break that kid's record again and break his heart. Pretty cruel, isn't it? I'm going to break this kid's heart. He got the fastest lap record in this go-karting track. And me, as an F1 driver, I'm going to ruin his life. Ollie Behrman. That's it. Just casually out there ruining kids' lives. I get the feeling Charles Leclerc is literally just, you know, probably reading a book. I can imagine he's reading like a self-help book. I get the feeling he'd be one of those. He's probably reading like The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if any of this is true, by the way. This is pure speculation. This is pure me just guessing. But he might be. Oh, I think I've got a drink. Oh, amazing. And I've got a toasted tea cake. Is this what happens when there's an hour delay? Look at that. I do like a toasted tea cake. I don't know about you. I know it's horrible to watch people eat, but I've just done an hour. Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, sometimes there's nothing better than a hot toasted tea cake with butter. Especially on a rainy day in Spa. Six minutes. We should be up. We should get this Grand Prix underway. I know it's awful watching people eat. It's grim. But honestly, I'm so hungry. I've got a coffee as well. I'm trying to eat it quickly. Lewis Hamilton. All prepared. To start the race in P18. Actually, Hamilton will be praying for rain. Because he's probably the, well, him or Max, the best drivers in the rain. So, it's the McLarens to watch today. They're still racing each other, don't forget. Either driver can win the World Championship. Oscar leading things at the moment. How many points ahead of him is he? 9. Oscar is 9 points ahead of Lando. It's very close. Okay. Seems like the entire grandstand over in Spa are ready and excited. I can see the orange t-shirts now. The ponchos have come off. The t-shirts are out. I didn't get paid any extra for filling for an hour with no Grand Prix. Oh wait, I have to pay myself extra. So it actually cost me money. Yeah. Coffee's out. I've had a lovely toasted tea cake. Get in the chat. Tell me what you love. Get in the chat and tell me your favourite snack when you're waiting for the Grand Prix to start. Are you sat there with like bowls of crisps, popcorn, got your beer, cup of tea? What's your go-to setup for the Grand Prix? I'll tell you what mine is. Depending on the time of the day. But if it's like this time, like it's a 2 o'clock start, I like a nice cup of coffee or tea. I like maybe a piece of toast, some little snacks, maybe some crisps, maybe a little bit of chocolate. But I like them all around me so I don't have to get up. You know, because I know I'm going to be here for 2 hours, I want everything there, just at arm's length. So I don't have to get up. Is anyone else the same? Okay. Okay. 2 minutes, baby. Let's go. What have you got for us? Okay. Back in work mode. Quick recap. Let's look at the grid. Lando Norris, P1. Oscar Piastri, P2. Charles Leclerc, P3. Max Verstappen, P4. Alex Albon, P5. George Russell, P6. Yuki Tsunoda, P7, great result for him. Hadjar, P8, great drive from Isaac. Liam Lawson, up in P9. We have seen an improvement in his form. Gabriel Bortolito, P10. Esteban Ocon, P11. Oliver Behrman, P12. Then we've got Gasly, P13. Nico Hülkenberg, P14. I think that's the first time Hülkenberg actually got into Q2 this season. His qualifying performance has improved. Carlos Sainz, 15. Colapinto, P16. Then we got P17 Lance Stroll, P18 Lewis Hamilton, P19 Kimi Antonelli. Wow. To see a Ferrari and a Mercedes in P18 and P19, where their teammates are P6 and P3, not good enough, boys. P20, Fernando Alonso, 2-time world champion. Right down the bottom, the Aston Martin with their new upgrade, which looks to be more of a downgrade at the moment. Maybe they have improved things overnight. Maybe they have tweaked something to give the car a little bit of race pace. I don't know. We'll find out. Max, actually, Max in P4, you could argue, is the better side of the track on this circuit. You could argue you want to be P2 for the better line. But let's find out. We're about to start. So, those McLarens, really, McLaren is so, honestly, as a team, McLaren is so far ahead of the rest of the field. I mean, even in the constructors, what is it, 200 points out of Ferrari? More, 250 points out of Ferrari. Ish. Wow. The only real question is, can McLaren get the record for the amount of points scored in a season? I think Red Bull have got that record at the moment. From, I think, I want to say 2023 season. You can fact check me, tell me if I'm right. Okay. So remember, Piastri got a 10-second penalty at Silverstone for bunching up the pack in this very similar situation behind a safety car. Have the McLaren team learnt from that experience? I'm sure they have. I'm sure everybody on the grid. Well, at least the race is starting. I know a lot of people have been sat, just like me, for the last, how long's it been? 1 hour, 20 minutes. Jeez. 1 hour, 20 minutes of talking to you. Oh. I don't know why did you hear that little slurp then? I really don't normally slurp. I don't know why I did that. Okay. Ones to watch today then. The big story. Charles Leclerc in P3. Will he be able to do something from there in that Ferrari? In that improved Ferrari for him? New rear suspension. Can it make a difference in these conditions? It's super wet. Yeah, two McLarens look so dominant. Water is actually really dissipating now. So I wonder how long the safety car is going to be out there. So that's too long. Lap 2. Are we going to see the safety car come off this lap and let them go racing? You know, I've not mentioned Albon. Alex Albon in the Williams P5. A fantastic qualifying result. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, Gemma. I asked everyone like how they like to be set up for the Grand Prix, like with snacks. Sweet and salted popcorn with tea and coffee plus chocolate and loaded nachos. That does sound like a good setup. Very good. It does sound like a great way to enjoy the Grand Prix, doesn't it? Loaded nachos, sweet and salted popcorn. Now that's divisive. I used to be a sweet popcorn person. Didn't like salted at all. It's like, if you're gonna have popcorn, it's got to be taste like a dessert. It's got to be sweet. And then I had the sweet and salted mix. And I was like, oh my god, where have you been all my life? The sweet and salted popcorn mix. Ah, the dream. If you haven't tried it, and you're a sweet or salted purist, try the mix. I think you'll enjoy it. And if you want to go for really what I call sexy popcorn, you want to put in some peanut M&Ms. And then, you know, they're normally at the bottom, unfortunately, but then you have a handful of popcorn with peanut M&Ms and it all goes in together. Oh, awesome. Great snack. Okay, still got the safety car out. Is it coming in this lap, though? Can we get these boys out racing? Lap 3. You see, they've got to try and get some temperature into these tyres still. And if you do what Piastri did at Silverstone, bunch up the pack and then put your foot down, then you're going to get a penalty. And in the wet, that safety car is not going to be going quick enough. So this is also what the drivers are doing now, is they are going to establish whether they're on the right tyres or will they be jumping straight in for a tyre change. Because as soon as the track is dry enough for slicks, you're talking about an advantage which could be 4 or 5 seconds a lap. So choosing the right time to get on slicks is going to be a decision that can win you the race. Go around again with a safety car. Currently lap 3. It's going to be slippery. It's freaking wet. So I'm just reacting to the commentary. Yeah, wet tracks are slippery. Well done, Sherlock. But they are. The wet tracks are slippery, it's true, if you're wondering. Okay. Will the safety car be coming in now? Let's get these boys racing. I mean, still trying to get some temperature into those tyres. It is one of the greatest racetracks in the world, but it is also one of the most unpredictable weathers. Okay, so they're going to go for a rolling start. No overtaking until Lando Norris passes the start-finish line. Hold formation. As soon as they get past the line, they are racing. Now, whoever's got the temperature in those tyres, so Lando Norris bunching up the pack. Okay. I think they're finally going racing, ladies and gentlemen. Finally going racing. Green flag. And they're off. There's no actual racing until they've crossed the start-finish line. Rolling start. Wow, Piastri's in the slipstream. Oh, cheeky. Cheeky. Had a little look. First corner, hairpin. Wow, the McLarens are playing a dangerous game. Piastri is right on the gearbox. He's got Piastri. What a move. What a move by Oscar Piastri. What a move on Lando. Now, I've been saying this all weekend. I do think Oscar is the #1 driver. That was a great move. Fantastic move by Oscar Piastri to pass his teammate cleanly. First lap. Well, first racing lap. He's pulling away. Okay, the real question is, where is Leclerc? Behind Norris. Anything happening in the back of the grid? No. Wow. Norris does not look quick. He has literally got Leclerc on his gearbox, who has Max on his gearbox. Piastri's putting air between him and Norris. What a start for Oscar Piastri. What a start. I've told you, he's my #1 McLaren driver. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Long way to go in the race, but I like the cut of Oscar's jib. So I think we're going to see the next battle is going to be Verstappen and Leclerc. Very close between those two right now on track. Lando putting a little gap of 7/10 between him and Leclerc. Piastri's got a gap of 1.2 seconds already. I mean, you can't argue with that. The guy Piastri has got he's got the skills. I'm telling you, I keep saying this. Piastri is the #1 driver in that team, and I do like Lando. George Russell put a move on Albon. Passed him. That's Russell up into 5th. Nice, clean, overtaking move by Russell. Verstappen still trying to find a way to get onto that gearbox of Leclerc. Again, Leclerc running the Ferrari, the upgraded Ferrari this weekend with the new rear suspension. No one's actually commented on how that rear suspension will do in the wet. I don't even know if they have that data. They only ran that car on a filming day in Mugello on demo tyres. I don't know what the data is in the wet. Leclerc just holding Max Verstappen at bay at the moment. I don't know how long he's going to be able to do it for, though. Okay, Lando Norris has reduced the gap between him and Piastri down to 0.8 of a second. Hamilton's picked up a place. He's gone from 18th to 17th. He's got past Lance Stroll down near the back of the grid. Yuki holding 7th. Lap 7. Tell me your thoughts. Don't forget, don't be shy. Get in the chat window. We can talk, interactive while the action's happened. Tell me what you thought of Oscar's move on Lando. Tell me what you think about my view on Oscar. I think he is #1 driver at McLaren, or he should be. He's my pick out of the 2 McLaren drivers. Tell me what you think in the chat window. And say hello. A little emoji. I'd like to see who's watching. Tell me where you're watching from. Say hello in the chat. I'll give you a little shout out. You can ask some questions. Tell me your thoughts and opinions on the action. Leclerc, P3. 2.2 seconds now behind Norris. Verstappen holding his 0.5 behind gap to Leclerc. Russell 1.7 seconds behind Verstappen. Albon holding 6. He's 1 second behind Albon. I'm interested to see whether Yuki can get past Albon. Let's see just how far Yuki can go today. I would like to see a performance from Yuki. He qualified well in P7. If he can get maybe P5, I think he needs a target. Oh, Hamilton put another move on. He put a move on Sainz. Hamilton's now from 18th to 16th. Okay, he's made up 2 places, Hamilton. Next on his hit list is Colapinto. So Hamilton, he's got past... Where's he got past? He's got past Stroll and Sainz. Colapinto next. We'll keep an eye on Hamilton. You know he is a wet weather specialist, so we will keep an eye on Hamilton's movement throughout the Grand Prix. He's got a point to prove today, though. He's pissing off the entire Ferrari team at the moment with his comments and his mistakes. Oh, wow, Hamilton around the outside of Colapinto. Hamilton has made up 3 places in the first few racing laps. Wow, let's see where he ends up. One to watch. Can he make it to the points? Okay, Piastri ahead of Norris, to Leclerc, to Verstappen, to Russell, Albon, Yuki. Hadjar holding his 8th place. It's where he qualified. He's holding his position. 9th of the other Racing Bull is Lawson, holding his position behind Hadjar. Only 4/10 behind Hadjar. Will they battle? I mean, I think they will. I don't think Lawson's going to... What is the golden rule in Formula 1? Beat your teammate. That's what he's going to try and do. He's going to try and beat his teammate. Hamilton's made an... Wow, Hamilton is on a charge. He is just got past Nico Hulkenberg. Hamilton's moved into 14th now. Wow. Okay, we're seeing Hamilton. Is it vintage Hamilton? He's making these moves on the slower drivers, but let's see. Okay, interesting weather update. We're getting close to the crossover between the inters and the slicks. So who's going to move first? Which car is going to get on the slick tyres first? If you do your tyre change at the right time, it can be worth 4 seconds a lap. You can see cars jump many positions from a correct tyre change. So Hamilton close on the gearbox of Pierre Gasly. Hamilton going for the pass. He's passed him. Hamilton up into 13th. He's got to remember, Hamilton started P18. He is P13 by lap 9. Carving his way up the field. He's got a more difficult task now, though. He's coming up to the 2 Haas cars. Both Haas cars performed very well this weekend so far. They were, you know, near the best of the rest of the midfield. Plus, I think both Haas cars scored in the sprint race. They did. Ocon 5th and Behrman 7th. So both Haas cars scoring points in that sprint race. They've been doing well. Hamilton chasing them down. That seems to be where the excitement is at the moment, because the rest of the field are holding position. Russell's passed Albon from 6th to 5th. The rest of the field, the midfield, holding position. Leclerc still holding Max Verstappen at bay. Verstappen just 4 tenths behind him. He just can't get past. Leclerc holding P3, and what a favour Leclerc is doing for the McLaren drivers. Piastri out in front, Norris 1.5 seconds behind Piastri, but now a 7-second gap opened up between Leclerc and Norris. So Leclerc is doing McLaren a favour here, and he is bunching up the field, which is actually helping his teammate all the way back down in 13th. He's keeping that snake together, which could allow Hamilton to be in striking distance and to move up that grid quickly. This is becoming a fascinating race. Obviously, if we get a safety car out at any point, that will bunch the cars up together again anyway, and there is a strong chance we will see a safety car. So that's what's going to come into play. Safety cars, tyre choice, timing of the pit stops. Oh, Verstappen putting a move on Leclerc, he went wide. They are wheel to wheel. And he is held his position into Eau Rouge. Leclerc going wide at the hairpin, but holding Max at bay. Verstappen going again. No! That Ferrari of Leclerc holding third. Wow. I'm creating an even bigger gap to those McLarens. Leclerc is doing an amazing job for McLaren, allowing the 2 McLaren cars to run away. 8 seconds behind Norris now, that Ferrari. Verstappen all over the gearbox of Leclerc. Russell, 3 seconds, 2.8 seconds behind Verstappen. Hamilton on the gearbox of Ocon. He has moved up from P18 to P13 and we are only on lap 11. A long way to go in this race. A lot can happen. We need to look out for the safety cars. Look out for the pit stop strategies. See who is going to be brave enough to move on to the slicks first and get the benefit. Or if they get it wrong, it's a spin. They lose 6, 7 seconds a lap. They get it right, they gain 4 seconds a lap until the other cars change to slicks. Timing is everything. Wow, a lot to play for in this race. And Leclerc is still holding Max. You can just imagine what is going on in Max's car. Hamilton coming in, the first mover for slicks. Is this a genius move? Is this a genius move by Hamilton? I think he's called it. He is. He's the first in for slicks. He's done it. He's out. Let's see. Hamilton's lap time is going to be crucial to telling us, was this the right move? Once he gets heat into those tyres, remember, Hamilton came into the pit in P13. In P13. He has to gamble. He has to gamble. And if he is first to get the benefit from the slick tyres at the right time on this track, can he leapfrog the field? We just need to see Hamilton's lap times to see whether that was the right timing, the right move. Everyone else still out. The leaders are not coming in at the moment. Oh no, Piastri. Well, the McLarens are so far out in front now. So, Piastri leading Norris by 1.6 seconds. Piastri first to pit out of the McLarens. Norris leads the race. Slicks going on for Piastri. Verstappen comes into the pits. Everyone's going to be... Now, the one to watch is Hamilton. Where's he going to come out after these pit stops? Did he get an advantage from that early swap to the medium compound tyre? Wow. Hamilton has made up a spot. He went into the pits in P13. He's now P12. His pit stop has gained... P11, it's gained him 2 spaces. Two places by being the first mover to come in for the slicks. He's jumped 2 positions. Wow. Charles Leclerc. That looked like a dangerous exit from the pit box. Hamilton, P10 on the slicks. Whoa. He is a man on a mission. Hamilton up to P10, passing Lawson. Hamilton on the medium tyre. He was the first to move. Leclerc making the move on Ocon. Wow, look at what is going on in the midfield. Verstappen, Russell, Ocon. I'm telling you, this race is going to be decided on the decision choices with tyres, pits and safety cars and weather. So Piastri has got, and the McLarens, both cars, 16 seconds ahead of Leclerc. Leclerc's held his position. He held his position in third. Verstappen in fourth. Russell in fifth. Albon in sixth. Hamilton is up to 7th from 18th. Wow. Hamilton, he's a wily old fox. Not only was he making moves on the inters, passing cars for fun, he chose the perfect time. He was the first mover to get on the slicks, and what did I tell you? If you are the first mover onto the right tyre, you will jump places. Hamilton went from P13, he's now I think it was P7. Incredible. Hamilton P7. Fantastic work by the Ferrari team and Hamilton. I have a feeling though that it wasn't. I have a feeling that was Hamilton's call. I have a feeling it was Hamilton that said, "Get me on the slicks." It wouldn't surprise me. So Piastri currently 9 seconds ahead of his teammate Norris. Leclerc 15 seconds behind Norris. Still, the real battle right now is Leclerc and Verstappen. Wow. Are you enjoying the race, guys? It's going to be eventful, this one. Get in the chat. Tell me where you're watching from. Say hello. Tell me what you think about the McLaren's dominance today. And tell me what you think about Leclerc's performance. I don't know if you were watching. I'm sure you were. Leclerc keeping Max Verstappen at bay when Verstappen was all over his gearbox. And he was creating the gap for McLaren. It's and Hamilton's a story of the day. P18 takes it all the way up to P13. First mover onto the slicks. Currently driving in P7. Wow, from P18. Hamilton so far is absolutely taking the field to school. This is how you drive in the wet. Choices matter. Timing is everything. Get onto those slicks. But the weather can change. We're only on lap 16. What happens if if it starts raining again? What happens if we get a safety car bunching everybody up together? All of these things are possible. 30 laps left or 28 laps left. A long way to go. But so far, things have played out perfectly. Hamilton's decisions have been great. I'm sure he's making them alongside with the team, but my guess is that Hamilton was making the call. I need to give him some credit. I've been ripping, I want to say ripping into, not ripping into, I've been telling the true story of Hamilton yesterday. And, you know, after the things he said about the team, the things he said about the upgrades, the rear suspension being awful, the car handling still hard, handling like a bag of spanners, then Leclerc putting the car on P3 and Hamilton only managing P18 and getting his lap time, which he did to get him into P7. to be withdrawn because he exceeded the track limits. Like he has not had a good weekend. But he is up 11 places since the start of this Grand Prix, and we're only on lap 16. He's 8 tenths behind Albon. He is hunting him down. But this is the story of the race. Hamilton looking like vintage Hamilton. Car number 44, all eyes are on that. Because honestly, McLaren is so far out in front right now. Piastri has got a 9-second lead over Norris. Leclerc, 5.5 seconds behind Norris. So the battles that are happening right now, Leclerc, Verstappen. Leclerc, 1.5 seconds ahead of Verstappen. And Hamilton up 11 places from P18 to P7. He's going to get the headlines again for different reasons today, Hamilton, isn't he? Yesterday, it's because he was slagging off the team, slagging off the upgrade, slagging off the car, and then his teammate putting the car on P3. Today, it's because he's taken the driver to school about decision making of when to change tyres, when to go onto the slicks, how to pass and drive in the wet. I mean, it's early days, but so far Hamilton is driving out of his skin. He's trying to make it up to the team, I'm sure, because of his comments and because of his mistake taking the car out of exceeding the track limits and going out in Q1. But Leclerc still holding Verstappen at bay. Russell made up 1 place from P6 to P5. Alonso, we should give a shout out to Alonso here. Alonso started on the grid in P20. He's now up to P14. He's made 6 places. It's funny, the experienced drivers, the Alonso and Hamilton, both taking full advantage of these wet conditions, of these changing conditions, making good decisions. And both those drivers we've seen move up the places. Interesting, right? There's lots to be said about experience. Because you look at Kimi Antonelli, he's up from 19th to 16th, and he's in a competitive car, right? He's in a Mercedes. You would like to see him making more of an impact at the back of the field. Sad story for Sainz at the moment. In the Williams, he's running P19, where his teammate Albon running P6. And what's the golden rule? Beat your teammate. Hamilton chasing down Albon. That is the story of the day. Hamilton up 11 places from P18 to P7 at this 19 lap marker in a 44 lap race here at Spa. Leclerc pulling away from Verstappen, actually. Verstappen was all over Leclerc's gearbox at the beginning of the race, and Leclerc did a fantastic job holding him off on those inters in the wet. Verstappen now 2 seconds behind Leclerc, and Russell is closing the gap quite considerably. He's taken 2/10 out of Verstappen's gap between him and Verstappen. So Russell looks like he is closing him down. Albon losing ground to Russell right now, I think. He's 1.8 seconds behind Russell. Still a long way to go. There's a lot that can happen here. Say hello if you're watching. Let me see you in the chat. Excuse me. Say hello in the chat if you're watching along with us today. I'll give you a question. Who's your favourite McLaren driver? Piastri? No, not favourite. That's not right. Who do you think is the better driver at McLaren, Piastri or Norris? Tell me in the chat window. We can debate this all day. I'll go first. My money is Piastri. I think Piastri is the better driver. He's definitely the better raw driver. He seems to have the better mentality for a racing driver, in my opinion. But I actually think, as a package, he's the better driver of the two. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong in the chat window. Norris, 8 seconds behind Piastri now. Leclerc, 6 seconds behind Norris. Comfortable up at the front for McLaren. It's going to take a safety car, I think, to get Leclerc in a position where he can challenge Norris for P2. But that's not really the game for Leclerc today. For Leclerc today, the game is to get a podium. If he can beat Max and get P3, that is a glorious day for where Ferrari are at. That is a great day for Leclerc and a good day for Ferrari. Hamilton has got himself into the points from P18. He's currently running P7. Can he chase down Albon? George Russell actually is doing a very good job for Mercedes this season. I think it's... If I was Russell and doing such a good job for the team, really getting the maximum out of the car, I would be livid about this whole contract situation for 2026. I would be livid about it. Constantly performing well, yet my boss considers Max a better driver. And as a Formula One driver, you cannot think anybody is a better driver than you. You can't. So if I was Max, I'd be pretty livid about the situation. Oh, Piastri looks strong. 8 seconds now ahead of Norris. Very comfortable, very strong out in front. Norris looks in great spot against Leclerc, who's now coming up to 7 seconds behind him. And even Leclerc's pulled out a 2-second gap over Verstappen. Verstappen has a 2-second gap over Russell. Russell has a 2-second gap over Albon. Albon has a 2-second gap over Hamilton. Yeah. So people are asking about what my man on the ground. I say people, Gemma. Gemma, I think, is a big fan of my man on the ground, Tubby George. What is Tubby George's opinion on my McLaren question? I've actually asked, me and Tubby have spoken about this. We've said, when I asked him, like, so who's the better driver? Oscar Piastri or Lando Norris? And do you know what he said? Valtteri Bottas. Thank you, Tubby. That's his favourite. I know he's not a McLaren driver, but the answer to any driver question with Tubby George is Valtteri Bottas. It's the mullet. He loves it. He thinks he's the greatest F1 driver ever. I hope that answers your question. He's an eccentric, is Tubby. Okay, looks like Lance Stroll and Colapinto having a minor battle down at the back of the field. Alonso up to P14 from P20, staying ahead of Kimi Antonelli. He's doing well because that we all know that Aston Martin is not in a good shape this week. Oh, Lance Stroll puts a move on Colapinto. So Stroll up to 16th. Bearing in mind he started P17. So he has made one place. You know, okay, he's made one place. Piastri maintaining his 8 seconds plus lead over Norris. The McLarens really do look unbeatable this season. Really, the arguments for the most impressive drive so far, Leclerc. You know, to put that car on P3 and to hold P3. Still a long way to go in the race, but if he can hold P3, Verstappen 2.5 seconds. Anything can happen though in the depending on the strategy. We're coming up to the halfway point. Hadjar on the hard tyre. I mean, who's on a one stop? And do we see? Have we seen a weather report? Because we started so late, I haven't even checked. Can anyone tell me in the chat? Is there a chance of rain in the next 30 minutes? Can someone tell me? Because I don't know. I knew that it was going to rain. Sorry. Excuse me, I just need to get some water. But I don't know. Is there a chance of rain in the next 30 minutes? Could we see that? Okay, so we've got Gasly. Where did he start? He started P13. He's up to P11. Yuki, so down from P7 to P12. He's all over the gearbox of Gasly, though. Hulkenberg and Bortolito 9th and 10th in the Saubers. Lawson 8th, Hamilton 7th. Albon P6, Russell P5, 4 seconds behind Verstappen. Verstappen is 2.5 seconds behind Leclerc, who is 8.5 seconds behind Norris, who is 8 seconds behind Piastri. Okay, don't forget, chat window. If you've got any questions, any comments? The question of the day is, who's a better driver, Piastri or Norris at the McLaren? And you can tell me as well, do you think that one of them should be the number one driver? Or do you think they are evenly matched? I've already thrown my opinion out there. I think Piastri is the better driver of the two. That's just what I think. I think he's got all the ingredients to be a world champion. Not just a world champion. I think he's got all the ingredients to be a multiple times world champion. That's what I feel like Piastri. But what do you think? Who's your favourite out of the two? Piastri or Norris? Who do you think is the better driver? Because we all know right now McLaren have got this season nailed on. I mean, what, 240 points clear of Ferrari? Ferrari have got the problem of, well, I'm going to call it the Hamilton problem. Because not only is the car not as quick as McLaren's, you've got one driver, Leclerc, putting that car on P3 and running P3 in the race, and Hamilton starting P18. But I am going to give Hamilton a lot of credit. He started P18. He's got that car up to P7. Argument, possible driver of the day. And actually, when we get to, we can start talking about driver of the day. I want you to put in the chat window who you think, who is your driver of the day? As we move on, probably from lap 30 onwards, you can start giving me who you think are in the running for driver of the day. Yeah, I mean, who would be your driver of the day? Tell me in the chat window. Okay, Piastri, 7.6 seconds ahead of Norris. Norris increasing the gap between him and Leclerc to over 9.3 seconds. Verstappen staying with him, ish. 2.4 seconds behind Leclerc. That gap is being maintained. Russell, 4.6 seconds behind Verstappen. He is not closing the gap. He is maintaining his gap to Albon, 2.8. The interesting fight, the next interesting fight is going to be Hamilton is 1.4 seconds behind Albon. Oh, hey, Anthony, join the chat. Hello, my friend. Oh, you got a question about Hamilton? Right, okay. So the thing about Hamilton is he was with Mercedes for 30 years. He was with one team for 30 years, okay? Which is his whole Formula One career. And now he's changed to Ferrari. This is his first season in a Ferrari. I think the change has been an absolute shock. I really do. He's in a new team and he's only ever worked with one team. So now he's working with a new team and he's trying to find a vocabulary. And where he was number one driver at Mercedes, he's now come to Ferrari thinking he should be, and the money they're paying him, he should be number one driver. Yet his teammate, Leclerc, has managed to put the same car, P3, and he's running P3 in the race. And Hamilton put the car on P18 and has been bitching and moaning, saying the upgrades were no good. And he's been moaning at the team, saying he needs this changing, and this changing, saying the car has not been benefited from the upgrades. Yet his teammate said the new rear suspension upgrade has been an improvement to the car, and then he proves that statement by putting the car on P3 and running in P3. It looks like Leclerc has a chance of getting a podium for Ferrari, whilst Hamilton put the car on P18. So I think the change of scenery that Hamilton has had by going to Ferrari has not been a refresh. I think it's been a wake-up call. I hope that answers your question, Anthony. I see what you're saying, Anthony. You want to see Hamilton in a Cadillac, right? Yeah, I understand what you're asking. There is no way you'll see Hamilton in a Cadillac. I promise you that, unfortunately. They would have, even if, well, maybe if they gave him a 50% ownership of the team, you might see Hamilton in a Cadillac. But no, he won't. He's at Ferrari. He wants to win his World Championship at Ferrari. And you've got to remember, Hamilton has only got a finite amount of years left. He's not the youngest driver, and I'm not being ageist. I'm just saying he's not the youngest driver on the grid, but he has that goal of winning another World Championship. He believes Ferrari's the team to do it. There is a brand new car in 2026, but how many seasons realistically has he got to do it? I mean, his age starts with a 4, right? So, I mean, if you're quick, you're quick. The age shouldn't matter. But as you lose your reaction time, you gain in experience. But there is a point where those two things do not converge and your career is done, no matter how much you want it to be. So Hamilton has a few years left at the top of his game, is my guess. So because of that, it'll be a top team or no team. So it'll be Ferrari. The interesting thing might be, actually, Anthony, is if he goes back to Mercedes for his last season, his home of 30 years, now that might be possible. But no, unfortunately, Anthony, you will not see Lewis Hamilton in a Cadillac. I don't think so. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so we've got Piastri out in front. Norris 8.6 seconds behind Piastri. Piastri really taking Norris to school. Leclerc 9 seconds behind Norris. Verstappen 2.3 seconds behind Leclerc. Russell 6 seconds behind Verstappen. Albon 3 seconds behind Russell. The battle we should be watching right now is Hamilton is closing the gap to Albon, just 1.2 seconds. And again, the drive of the day so far, Hamilton's gone from P18 to P7. A mixture of good driving, great overtakes, but really, he was the first to go onto slicks today. And you can see by that experience, using that experience to his advantage, being the bravest driver on the grid to make the choice to go onto slicks, which has allowed him to leapfrog another few spaces. And then because he was on slicks before anybody else, his car was performing on slicks, and he managed to get past Lawson. He managed to get past, I think it was both of the Racing Bulls, and he found himself in 7th place. Hamilton has made up 11 places during this Grand Prix. Very impressive after a torrid weekend and after really slating Ferrari constantly. Yesterday, he literally was saying the Ferrari car was a bag of spanners. The upgrades haven't worked. The suspension upgrade has done nothing. And then you had Leclerc saying, "Well, yeah, the new suspension." I can't do a French accent. The new suspension is better. And then he proves it by putting it on P3. And you can't argue with that, can you? One guy saying the car's awful, the suspension upgrade's awful, and he puts it on P18, proving his comments. And then Leclerc says, no, these upgrades are better. And he proves his comments by putting the Ferrari on P3. So you can imagine what was going on in that Ferrari garage last night. Hamilton had to apologise for having his time taken away because he exceeded the track limits in Q1, which would have been a P7 time, by the way. And all the words he's been using has literally been slating the engineers. So Hamilton today looks like he's going some way to apologise to the team by putting in a stellar performance, because starting at P18 at Spa, it's unlikely to get points unless the weather plays into your hands. And Hamilton showed yet again just how good he is in the wet. Oh yes, Anthony's talking about Hamilton. If he retires and he's smart enough and patient enough to switch to a pit crew manager or a technical director for a team. Hamilton, when he retires, if he doesn't own a Formula One team of some description, which I think he probably won't, is my truth, because Hamilton has got all these ambitions and businesses. He's got fashion, he's got music, he's an investor in films. He was a consultant producer on the F1 film. Hamilton has all these other interests in entertainment that to be an F1 team member of staff, let's say, either from team principal or to working in some capacity in the team, it's a full-time job, or you shouldn't be doing it. You can own an F1 team as an investor and not be hands-on and sort of be more of a special advisor type role. He could probably do something like that, but you're not going to see Hamilton in a day-to-day job that it would take to be successful in a team. Team principals work hard. It is 7 till midnight every day. That's how you win. So we won't, I'll be very surprised if we see Hamilton in a job like that. We might see him as an investor in a team, we might see him as a special advisor at a team, but we will not see him in a full-time role at a team when he retires from being a driver. I just cannot see it. He'll probably have a film production company, he'll probably have a fashion label. So yeah, so that's what I think. Okay, another question for Anthony. The rule changes coming next season. Do you think it's going to force Red Bull Racing to digest itself from Racing Bulls? So it's part of... Oh, I see what you're saying. Do I think Red Bull Racing is... Well, the actual interesting point about this question is, the real question is, should race teams be allowed to have sister teams on the grid? Red Bull already controls Racing Bulls. Okay, so Red Bull effectively is Red Bull, but they have a sister team of Racing Bulls. Now this was evident when Horner was the boss of Red Bull Racing and Mekis was the boss of Racing Bulls. I got the impression that Mekis did as he was told from Christian Horner. I think in reality, Christian Horner was running both teams. He decided who drove for Red Bull and which drivers got promoted from Racing Bulls to Red Bull. So in effect, he was running two teams. They were already one big team, and they still are, really. The FIA are trying to separate all teams, but the integrity of the sport is challenged by any team having a sister team, even if they're not allowed to share design or diagrams or confidential information. So yeah, it's, even though they're not supposed to share information, and even if they don't share information, what happens on race day? What happens when you've got Max Verstappen against Piastri, final race of the season? Either driver can win the World Championship, okay? So you've effectively got your guys, you've got 4 drivers effectively on your team, haven't you? Because you'd have Verstappen, you'd have Yuki, and then you've got your sister team of Lawson and Hadjar. So when the order comes through, let Max through, let Max through. And then you've got Piastri, who's now got to battle a team of 4 rather than a team of 2, because your sister team, what if the sister team is doing rubbish in the championship and they have a racing incident which takes the wing off Piastri, which costs him the world championship? That influence shouldn't be allowed. It's too tempting. Even if you say, sorry sir, there's no way we'd do that, we are our own teams, we don't take team orders from someone else. I think the integrity of the sport is in question if you have a sister team for any of the teams. So this then leads on to the conversation, well, what about in 2026 when Mercedes supply engines to competitors on the circuit and Ferrari supplying engines to Haas, they supplying engines to Cadillac? Does that relationship then become an advantage if Ferrari are in a position where they need a favour from Haas or Cadillac because they're in a competitive situation with another manufacturer? I just think that sister teams and supplying parts like power plants to other teams and having those relationships does bring the integrity of the sport into question. And it's supposed to be the pinnacle of motorsport. So anyway, that's what I think, Anthony, when it comes to sister teams and comes to teams supplying other teams with power plants. I think that the pinnacle of motorsport should not do that. I think if you have a team, you have one team. Your driver program to bring drivers through should be your F2 team. Yeah, not another F1 team. That's what I think. And I also think every team should have their own unique power plant, either developed by themselves or an exclusive arrangement like Aston Martin has just done with Honda for their power plant. I don't think every team on the grid should be sharing tech. Or if that doesn't work, where each team cannot develop their own power plant or have an exclusive arrangement for their own power plant, I think every team should give the same amount of money, let's say 50M, 100M, to an independent power plant provider who provides every team with the same power plant. Otherwise, how can we guarantee the integrity of the sport? Tell me what you think. That's me on my soapbox, but tell me what you think in the chat. Okay, quick update. Piastri still out in front. Since that wonderful move on Norris on lap 1, he has not had anyone in his rear view mirror. He has led from start to now. He's 8 seconds clear of Norris, who is 10 seconds clear of Leclerc, who is 2.3 seconds clear of Verstappen, who is 10 seconds clear of Russell. Then we have Albon. And then we have driver of the day so far. It's Hamilton from P18 up 11 places to P7. He is only 6/10 behind Albon. We really should be seeing this battle unfold. Show me the battle between Albon and Hamilton. He is gaining a 10th a lap at the moment. Surely we want to see Hamilton make the move on Albon. Hamilton is up 11 places. He's going to be close enough. He is going to be close enough. Tell me your thoughts, by the way, guys, in the chat window. It's there for you. Get interactive. You can chat to each other. You can chat to me. The question of the day was, or is, who's a better driver, Piastri or Norris? Who's your number one if you had to choose? I've already said mine's Piastri, but I'm very interested to know what you think. Oh, we're seeing a little battle here between Antonelli and Ocon. Antonelli took the space off Ocon into 15th, and Ocon took the space back, or the place back from Antonelli back into 15th. Quite a lot of action going on. I mean, Antonelli, to be honest, should really have made some gains. He started P19. He's in a competitive car and he's running P16. I would have liked to have seen Antonelli show us some passing moves and making a bid, at least for the points. You've got Russell up there in P5 doing a good job getting the maximum out of that Mercedes car. And you still haven't sorted his contract out. His performance has been consistent all season. Russell consistently getting the best out of that car. Leclerc, 11.5 seconds now behind the McLarens, behind Norris. And Piastri, 7 seconds clear of Norris. Norris is on the hard tyre. Okay, down to the last 8 laps. Potential changes I can see to this lineup. Hamilton could make a move on Albon. We could see him gain a place, which would be I mean, it's already a fantastic drive from Hamilton today. Let's not, you know, let's have it right. Hamilton has been incredible. And absolutely my driver of the day so far. I can see Sky Sports agree with me. I said it first. I'll just tell you that. I said it first. Yeah, I mean, it's been, to be honest, it's been a pretty uneventful race because apart from the weather at the beginning, the start, and Hamilton taking full advantage of experience and choosing to go on those slicks at exactly the right time. And you have to remember, Hamilton was the first. He took the gamble to put the slicks on. He was the first in. So he gained the most. Alonso slipping back down to 17th. We did see Alonso making some progression down at the back of the grid, and he started at P20. But Lance Stroll, you see again, what's the golden rule? As a driver, beat your teammate. Stroll up to P13 from P17. You know, don't forget Bortolito, he's had a pretty good Spa weekend. He's up in P9, he's in the points. Gasly in P10. Yuki, unfortunately, after a promising qualifying for P7, we have seen him fall down to P11 out of the points. But he is only half a second behind Gasly. But Gasly will be holding on to that 1 point with his claw grip. He will not want to concede that point to Yuki. Every point matters for the Alpine team. And remember, Gasly is the only driver to score points for the Alpine team this season. Charles Leclerc. Leclerc losing a little bit of time, locking up that front right. He's done 25 laps on that medium tyre. So Leclerc held P3 the entire race. Okay, so Leclerc wrestling that Ferrari. He's asked his engineer to not give him information unless he asks for it. Basically, if I was a driver and I'm trying to gaffer tape this car together and get it round to, and concentrate on my position, and my engineer is in my ear, I think I would be the same. I'd be like, dude, I've got 5 laps to keep this car on the road. Leave me alone. Let me do my job. I can imagine getting to that point and what a job he's done. If he can hold it for the next 5 laps to the checkered flag in P3, it's a great drive by Leclerc. He really should be in consideration for driver of the day, you know. Hamilton is winning it. Hamilton's 10 seconds clear of Lawson. I would just really like to see Hamilton pass Albon. One more place, Hamilton. Come on. 1.3 seconds behind Albon. Ollie Behrman closing down on Yuki. It's been a shame for Yuki. Really, I was hoping for a better result for him after his P7 qualifying. I really was. I thought we might get a better result for him. I really did. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a little bit of water. I know I should have it out of a glass, but to be honest with you, I forgot to bring one up. Sorry. But it's not Sky Sports, this, so I think I can get away with it. It's far more relaxed. We're in each other's living rooms, right? So, interesting point. If Piastri wins today, that will give him a 16-point advantage over Lando. Just 4 laps. We really are at the business end now. I'm not sure Hamilton's going to have enough in the tank to get past Albon. Not that it matters. He still had a phenomenal drive today. So I'm Zach Brown. Do you know what I'm doing right now? I am putting over the team radio. Hold your position. Piastri and Norris, hold your positions. Do not do anything stupid in the last 3 laps. Yeah, that should be everyone's rule. Don't do anything stupid. Because that's the only thing that could prevent maximum points today for McLaren. There's something stupid between Norris and Piastri racing each other. As much as a fan, I love to see it. I love to see the race, and I think, you know, you can't allow that to happen at this point in the race. I mean, Leclerc's 15 seconds behind Norris. The real battle is Verstappen and Leclerc. Only 1.1 seconds behind Leclerc. We need to be seeing this battle. Let's see it. I mean, you're showing us the battle at 15th, 16th and 17th, but why aren't you showing us what is happening either between Leclerc and Verstappen? There's only 1 second between them, or Albon and Hamilton, where there's 1.2 seconds. There's 3 laps left. You feel like this is, you show me the battle for P16 and P15. Who cares? Piastri out in front. So Norris is trying to close that gap between Piastri. They're close track position. 3.6 seconds between Norris, Piastri. Oh, I don't know whether this matters. There could be a few drops of rain, turn 1 in the last 2 laps. Could that affect the race? I doubt it at this point. I really do doubt it. I don't think we're going to see any other result other than Piastri winning. I really don't think we're going to see any other result. Norris is closing the gap though. He's down to 3.2 seconds and he's taking, well, he's not going to take 3 seconds out of Piastri in the next 2 laps. He's down to 3 seconds. Leclerc's still holding his P3 with Verstappen 1.3 seconds behind. Hamilton 1.3 seconds behind Albon, between 6 and 7. It's going to take a freaking incident to change this order now, I think. Someone's going to have to run off, go wide. A streaker on the track, who knows? It'll have to take something freakish. No, Norris, error. He's 4.5 seconds behind now. So Piastri from P2 is going to win this race. Lap 43 of a 44 lap race. Okay. Piastri, yeah, Norris is backing off now. He's 5 seconds behind Piastri. There's no point in him putting the hammer down now. Just bring the car home. Lap 43 of 44. It's going to be Piastri, your race winner, who, like I've said for the last few days, Piastri is the better driver between him and Norris. I'm sorry, it's what I believe. And I think I've been proven right today. He took Norris to school yesterday. Norris did put in a good qualifying. But Piastri all weekend has actually been the quicker driver. Not just this weekend. Norris actually running an alternative suspension to Piastri. Norris has got the updated suspension. Okay, lap 44, we will be announcing your winner. So, after an hour and 25-minute delay to the start of the Grand Prix, it's been a pretty uneventful race. Piastri held his lead for the entire race. Leclerc held P3 for the entire race. The real story of the day is Hamilton moving from P18 up to P7. What a drive. Definitely driver of the day. Credit where it's due to Hamilton. Driver of the day after what a mixed bag of a weekend for Lewis Hamilton. He has been on fire today. Driver of the day, your driver of the day, my driver of the day, Lewis Hamilton, from zero to hero. Well done, Lewis. But now, of course, Piastri takes the checkered flag. Congratulations, Oscar. He is your winner of the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. Did you ever doubt it? Leclerc holding on to a brilliant third. So your 1, 2, 3 is Piastri, Norris, Leclerc. Fantastic result for Oscar Piastri. Lando is going to be upset with himself. Qualifying P1, finishing P2. But again, driver of the day is Lewis Hamilton. The story goes from P18 to P7. He was the first onto the slicks. He made the bold move, the brave move, the first move, and had the biggest benefit. But before that, he was passing cars for fun in the wet, showing why he is the wet weather master. Great race. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have. I love doing these watch-alongs. It's been really good fun where we get to watch the action together. Okay, so I'm going to come back with a roundup of today's action, the top stories, a little bit later on. Look out for my scheduled live stream. It will not be long, maybe an hour or so. And we can talk about the action together then. But for now, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and join the community. Subscribe and hit the bell so you can keep up to date. I will be back shortly within the next hour, hour and a half for a full news show and updates about what the reaction is to the Grand Prix and also the top stories. So I will see